There are certain UFC fighters who put on great performances in the promotion, but they were released immediately after making a mistake. So here is 5 UFC fighters who were released unfairly. Number 5. Valerie Letourneau is a former UFC strawweight fighter who, after putting together a 3-fight winning streak, was given the next title shot against then UFC strawweight champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 193, but after the 5 rounds, she would lose by a unanimous decision. She would next lose to Joanne Calderwood at UFC Fight Night 89 and lost to Viviane Pereira by a split decision. After suffering 3 losses in a row, she was cut from the UFC roster. Prior to fighting Viviane Pereira, she had mentioned openly that she would love to see the UFC open up a UFC women's flyweight division, and it would be the ideal weight for her to fight at. Shortly after her release, the UFC announced that they would be opening the UFC flyweight division. I believe if the UFC gave Valerie Letourneau the opportunity to start fresh and compete in the weight class, she would definitely turn things around for herself and would definitely become a legit contender in the weight class. Number 4. Ben Saunders is a top UFC welterweight contender who made his return in the UFC in 2014 and pulled off an omoplata submission over Chris Heathery at UFC Fight Night 49. He would next finish Joe Riggs by TKO at UFC on Fox 13 and next defeated Kenny Robertson by a split decision at UFC on Fox 16. After putting together a 3-fight winning streak, he next faced Patrick Cote at UFC Fight Night 81, where he would get brutally finished by TKO. After this loss, he was released unfairly by the promotion, despite being 3-1 in his return. He would next defeat Jacob Volkman by an armbar at Fight Night at the Island, and was re-signed with the UFC, where he defeated Cote McGee by a unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night 103. Ben Saunders always puts on great performances, and always delivers a good show whenever he fights. Number 3. Rick Story is a former UFC welterweight fighter who, after putting together a 3-fight winning streak, he was next scheduled to face Donald Cerrone at UFC 202. In the fight, Donald Cerrone would overwhelm him with his stand-up skills to get the TKO victory. After this loss, Rick Story was released from the promotion. I believe Rick Story was a great addition to the 170-pound division and had picked up some great wins over Johnny Hendricks, Thiago Alves, Gunnar Nelson, Tarek Safadine and many more. I believe if the UFC kept him on the roster, he would have likely progressed up the welterweight ladder. Number 2. Leslie Smith is a former UFC women's bantamweight contender who had put together a UFC record of 4-3 before she was released from the promotion. She had put together a 2-fight winning streak where she defeated Irina Aldana by unanimous decision at UFC on Fox 22 and next finished Amanda Lemos by TKO at UFC Fight Night 113. She was next scheduled to face Aspen Ladd at UFC Fight Night 128, where at the weigh-ins, Aspen Ladd came overweight by almost 3 pounds and offered to fight Leslie Smith at a catchweight. Leslie Smith refused to fight her, where the UFC paid her show money and win money and released her from the promotion. I believe the UFC should have kept her, as the UFC women's bantamweight division is lacking in top contenders, and I believe after a few more wins, she would have definitely become a legit contender in the weight class. Number 1. Eddy Rodriguez is a former UFC featherweight contender who had put together a UFC record of 6-1 before he was released from the promotion. He had put together a string of impressive performances using his wild, flashy fighting style and became one of the most exciting prospects in the weight class. After his dominant win over BJ Penn at UFC Fight Night 103, Eddy Rodriguez was given a step up in competition and was scheduled to face Frankie Edgar at UFC 211. In the fight, Frankie Edgar absolutely mauled Eddy Rodriguez for 2 rounds until the fight was stopped by the doctor. Since that fight, Eddy Rodriguez was offered fights with both Ricardo Lamas and Zabit Magomedsharipov, but he declined both fights, which led Dana White to release him from the UFC. I believe the UFC made a massive mistake in releasing such a talented fighter in Eddy Rodriguez, as he was a fresh face in the featherweight division who was slowly becoming a recognizable name. His fighting style was unique and he would have come back a lot stronger. I hope someday in the future he is able to come back and prove why he belonged in the UFC.